We live surrounded by voices. Scroll, swipe, watch, react. Another opinion, another argument, another person telling us what we should believe. And somewhere along the way, we have become very good at listening only to voices that already sound like our own. We call it conviction. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is simply comfort wearing the clothes of conviction. Because what happens when another voice appears? A voice that disagrees, a voice that challenges the assumptions we've carried for years. Do we listen, or do we reach for the block button? Do we ask questions, or do we prepare our counter-argument before they've even finished speaking? Do we seek truth, or do we simply want to win? Stuart Mill understood something we seem to be forgetting. Even the opinion we believe is wrong can have something to teach us. If it is right, we have an opportunity to exchange error for truth, and if it is wrong, the collision with it can make our understanding of truth clearer. Either way, we learn unless we silence the voice. And perhaps this is where the question becomes uncomfortable, because maybe the problem isn't only the other person's voice, maybe it is something within us. Perhaps we aren't always defending truth. Perhaps sometimes we are defending ourselves, our identity, our tribe, our reputation, our need to be right. Kierkegaard spoke of the divided heart, and I wonder, how often do we want truth while also wanting approval? How often do we want what is good while secretly wanting to win? How often do we say we are defending righteousness when what we are really defending is our own certainty? There is a difference between disagreement and harm, and perhaps maturity begins when we learn to recognize that not everything that makes us uncomfortable is dangerous. Sometimes discomfort is simply the sandpaper that prepares the surface for something better, and perhaps our ideas need some sanding too, because disagreement tests us. It tests our reasoning, our knowledge, our assumptions, our wisdom. It tests the structure of what we believe. And just as engineers learned through centuries of failure how to build structures that can withstand earthquakes, perhaps our convictions also need to be tested, not so that everything collapses, but so that what remains is strong enough to stand. So perhaps courage isn't always the courage to speak. Perhaps sometimes it is the courage to remain silent long enough to listen, to encounter the other voice without immediately trying to destroy it, to ask, what if there is something here I need to hear? And perhaps the deepest question isn't whether we are courageous enough to defend what we believe. Perhaps it is whether we are courageous enough to allow reality to test what we believe. Because truth doesn't need our fear, and conviction doesn't need our hostility. What we need is resilience, humility, discernment, and the courage to listen. Because perhaps the strongest foundations are the ones that have never been tested. Perhaps they are the ones that have been tested and still stand. I've explored this more deeply in my latest reflection. The courage to listen to the other voice. Because sometimes the voice we most want to silence may be the very voice that helps us discover whether what we believe can truly stand.